Whew. Yo, what's up, guys? Good morning. Waking up. I'm just gonna look for some early bets. So trying to do these live streams, pretty effective for getting out plays. I think this play was from the live stream. So we had a pretty good hit on PrizePicks. Can't complain about that. And then we also had a pretty good, we've had a pretty good run on Underdog Fantasy just in general. A lot of plays from the live stream. So hopefully we can keep it going. So long story short, let's start hitting some more bets for tomorrow. And one thing I've said, in tons of other videos, but kind of important, is all these books are located in different places, right? So PrizePicks is in, most states in the US, I think some of Canada, but all these books are in different locations. But like you may use different sports books, right? Like here you can see there's some really good value on FanDuel. I like FanDuel. I'm from Virginia, and, FanDuel is a book I use all the time when I'm home, but, I don't have access to it right now. So depending on the sports books you have access to, you'll kind of see different plays available. Like you can see there's 201 sports books on OddsJam. I'm only generally using, 5, 6, whatever. So the more books you have, obviously the better. You can see there's a lot of plays on FanDuel. FanDuel is one of my favorite books. And the concept is pretty simple. In general, all the concepts we're going to discuss in these videos is just like, the way to beat the books is not just betting with your gut and trying to like create a better model or outsmart all the sports books. Like, no offense, MGM is $1 billion company. They got lots of employees, lots of engineers, better data feeds, more resources, better models. Like, you're never just going to be able to look at lines and outsmart them. But because every sports book sets lines independently, the market's really fragmented. So if you think about like, the price of Facebook stock, it's $312, right? You go to Fidelity, you go to E-Trade, whatever. That's basically the price you're going to see. They may have different fees. But in sports betting, it's like fascinating, right? Because for the exact same bet, for this guy to get 2 or more bases, over 1.5 bases, you get way different prices on the exact same bet, right? It's like you go to E-Trade and Facebook is $200, then you go to Fidelity and it's $400. Like, it would be a great time to be a day trader. But in sports betting, that's exactly what you're getting. You have all these books setting lines independently, and sometimes they screw up, right? Like, the thing to realize is these books aren't, some of them, especially, they're not that big of companies. They don't have that many resources. So if you think about it, like Underdog Fantasy, for example, is, a startup. They've been around a few years now, but they have tens of thousands of lines on their site that they're setting independently, managing independently, is they can't always keep lines in check, right? So like as sharp bettors, as smart bettors, profitable bettors, whatever, we're kind of like hunting for those spots where they're screwing up. So one of the tools I use, we'll just kind of dive into Underdog Fantasy, is this fantasy optimizer. What's up, guys? Yeah, what's up, guys? What's up, guys? Anyways, let's go through some of these plays. So, we can start out, on Underdog Fantasy. And one sport, that maybe you don't know a lot about, but again, it doesn't really matter. Like, the benefit of betting on esports is you can see right here, like there are games going on literally 24/7, right? So esports are a more niche market and there's tons of games. So it may be like, okay, who cares? I like the NFL better, which is true. Like, we all like the NFL better. But the thing is it means there's a lot of inefficiencies in the market, right? There's a lot of opportunity. And I'll give you the perfect example. Like this guy, right? Kiyotaka. This esports game starts in 34 minutes. It's 6 a.m. We have games starting at 7 a.m. It's crazy, right? But you're going to notice there's this huge discrepancy. Underdog has his line at 19. PrizePicks has his line at 16, right? You're never going to see an NBA player where PrizePicks has a guy's line at 16 points and Underdog Fantasy is 19 points. The sports books are too smart. There's too few games. They're too on top of their lines. But in esports, like, that's a massive discrepancy, right? 3 points, right? It's only 15, like that's like 20%, right? This is a huge difference between books. So one strategy that's, kind of effective is what's called middle betting. So I'll give you an example is if you take a look right here at like, this player for this bet on FanDuel, and maybe this makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but like if you look at an MLB money line, OddsJam is recommending we bet on the Rangers at -102. So you're going to see FanDuel is the only book. If I zoom in, well, that didn't work. So if I zoom in a bit, you're going to see this play right here. If you want to bet it on FanDuel, FanDuel is the only book that has the Rays favored, right? And these lines are always moving. I mean, you can kind of like track line movements, crap like that, stuff like that here. But FanDuel has the Rays favored, right? So FanDuel has the Rays favored. They're saying, hey, we believe the Rays are over 50% to win the game, right? So FanDuel's model, one of these teams is going to win the game, right? There's no ties in baseball. And if there was, we'd get our money back. So FanDuel's saying, hey, the Rays are slightly favored. That's what their model is saying. The Rays are a little over 50% to win the game. And what you can actually do is convert odds into probability with this calculator right here. So it's called a no-vig odds calculator. It's really useful and stuff like that. And we'll get back to the plays here in a second. But essentially all this calculator does, and my screen's freezing, so that's great. Well, all this calculator does is it takes a sportsbook's market, right, and then tells you the win probability for each play, right? So, for example, we can see here that, FanDuel has the Rays slightly favored, right? The Rays are -116. They're a little favored on FanDuel. So, essentially, according to a no-vig calculator, this calculator right here, FanDuel's market, right, what FanDuel is saying is the Rays are 51.54% to win this game. And then the Rangers are slight underdogs at 48.46%. That's what FanDuel's model is saying. This is the way that sportsbooks work, right? They have models that spit out, hey, here's what we think the win probability for bets are. That gets them to what they believe the odds should be. And then they bake in their vig, they bake in their juice, right? So sportsbooks have models that spit out win probabilities. They convert those into odds, and then they add in the vig, right? And the vig is just like a spread, right? Like if you're a stockbroker, you think a stock is worth $10, you buy it for $9, you sell it for $11, right? You give people crappy prices, and that's what sportsbooks do. They have models that tell them what the odds should be, and then they bake in their vig, they bake in their juice. So you may be like, okay, whatever, who cares? FanDuel has, the Rays slightly favored to win the game. But what you're going to notice is every other sports book, so Caesar Sportsbook, for example, you can see here, they have the Rangers favored. DraftKings has the Rangers favored. Flip has the Rangers favored. So sure, you're not going to create a better model than FanDuel and outsmart them, right? But when you look at all these other sports books, all these other data points who are doing the same thing, investing millions into their ability to set lines, you treat every book as a data point. Like literally every single sports book, every single one has the Rangers favored to win this game, except for FanDuel. So it's pretty clear, right? FanDuel's screwing up here. Literally every sports book. We have dozens of sports books. They're all telling us the same thing. And granted, they all have slightly different odds from one another. DraftKings is -105, -115. So like this is saying, Caesar Sportsbook has the Rangers at 52% to win this game. Right? DraftKings is only -115, so they're a little less bullish. They have this a bit closer. They're only 51% for the Rangers to win the game. So long story short, as sports bettors, we're looking at all this market information, to try to make better bets. But anyways, let's go back to Underdog Fantasy. Let's refresh this. Man. So what we can do is we can just kind of, find some plays. So let me remove some of these markets. Pitches thrown is a market we added, but long story short, like this guy, 3 kill discrepancy. So what we can do is we can middle it, right? We can take the over on PrizePicks. We can take the under on Underdog Fantasy. If he has 17 or 18 kills in game 1, 2, we win our under 19. We win our over 16, right? So when you find these big discrepancies, that's a really good strategy on PrizePicks and Underdog. And again, this is something you can search for manually as well, right? You can just like pull up esports on Underdog Fantasy. You can search through these lines. You can search through PrizePicks like OddsJam. Again, there's no rocket science or magic going on here. All it's doing is reading in all this data in real time, across 200 sports books. That's millions of odds. All it's doing is it's reading in this data and pointing out big line discrepancies, right? Because most bets aren't profitable, right? You'll see on Underdog Fantasy, they have tens of thousands of lines on their platform at any given time. OddsJam is just recommending, like 10 or so bets. And that's not that many, right? So like Underdog is pretty good at setting their lines, but they screw up occasionally. So then we can see, okay, let's check out this next homie, right? Once again, Underdog Fantasy has his line a lot higher than PrizePicks, right? This guy's line is 10.5, right? This game also starts, what's better than a game that starts at 7 a.m.? So we have another line discrepancy, right? PrizePicks has the line at 10.5. Imagine an NBA player, right? AD. Imagine his rebound line was 10.5 on Underdog or PrizePicks, 11.5 on Underdog Fantasy. Like, you're never going to see it. So what you can do is you can just middle it. I'm taking the under. I'm taking the over, right? This player's distribution, like what he's most likely to get is between 10 and 12 kills. Like if you think about Patrick Mahomes, when his passing yard is set at 275 yards, like he's probably not going to throw for 50 yards and he's probably not going to throw for 600. Usually he ends up somewhere between like 225 and, 350. So, the difference between 10 and 12 is pretty meaningful. So the probability he ends up with, exactly 11 or 12 kills and we win both bets is pretty high. So that'll be the second play we go with. And we can just look for some plays, whatever, on Underdog Fantasy. So let's go to here. We can go to like MLB strikeouts as well. So the next play it's recommending is Dean Kremer under 5 strikeouts. And again, like, I try to keep these videos educational. Like I don't just want to, bet stuff and it seems random. So here's another play that seems pretty good, right? OddsJam's recommending this Dean Kremer guy under 5 strikeouts, right? What's the magic going on here? Again, there's no magic. PrizePicks, a pretty sophisticated sportsbook. They've invested a lot in their ability to set lines, has his line lower at 4.5, right? All the sportsbooks have his line at 4.5. Some have the over a little more favored, right? Like Caesars has the over a bit more favored than DraftKings does. But in general, FanDuel actually has the under 4.5 favored. So like Caesars has the over 4.5 favored, but FanDuel has the under 4.5 favored. So big discrepancies in the market, a little bit of confusion. This OddsJam algo odds column is just like a weighted average of all the sports books with the VIG removed. So basically, like it's not even really clear if his line should be, with the, and did they move it? It looks like they just moved it. And it looks like they just moved it. You can see here, they just locked it. So maybe someone on this live stream bet it. I'm not particularly sure. What's up, guys? Oh my God. This is too stupid to comprehend. I can't believe I wasn't sharing my screen. Anyways, the play I was looking at was Dean Kremer under 5 strikeouts. You're going to see PrizePicks, all the sports books have his line at 4.5, but it looks like they just locked their market, as you can kind of see by the locks here. Anyways, long story short, was looking at some plays, and the first 2 plays that are like pretty big discrepancies in esports is this Kiyotaka guy, both unders on Underdog Fantasy, and then I loaded up both overs on PrizePicks. So both of these are huge discrepancies, right? Tomato over 5.5 on PrizePicks, and then on Underdog Fantasy, we have his line's at 12.5, so we can take the under. Over here, under here, if he has, 11 or 12 kills, we'll win both bets. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh this. Anyways, you kind of get the point. So I didn't hit any plays yet. So we can see if this line bounced back. And if not, I'm sure we'll be able to get another esports play. So let me refresh this. And we can take a look here. So it looks like they pulled his strikeout line. Kind of annoying, but whatever. So what we can do is, we can take a look at this guy. Again, we're just capitalizing. Like you'll notice as we get closer to game time, these big discrepancies in like Dota and stuff like that, like most of them start to go away. Some of the biggest line discrepancies you're going to see are when books first post odds. So what I'm going to do is I'll just middle a few of these. So these plays are all pretty big discrepancies, right? Like you can see here. Right, we have 3 huge discrepancies. Kiyotaka 19, his line 16 on PrizePicks, huge discrepancy, right? lot of discrepancies in the market in general. So what I can do is I can flip over to PrizePicks, and I've explained this before, and I've shared this before, but I can share this article again. There's a few reasons that you don't want to place. So let me just go back here. And then let me go here. And we're good to go. Okay. Anyways, so this article just kind of explains like you know, how many picks are optimal. And again, just recapping, we had I think this was from the live stream. We had a pretty good day on PrizePicks just in general. But on PrizePicks, for any 3-pick entry, you're only getting a 5x payout. On Underdog Fantasy, where we've also been running pretty hot. I mean, you have to remember these are a 6x payout. So you're turning $100 into 600. So some people will be like, oh, you lost 3 bets in a row. You're an idiot. But it's like, you know, down 250, down 100, down 100, up 600. Like, you know, you're still up some profit. And then obviously we had a pretty big winning streak here where it's just racking it up. But on Underdog Fantasy, you're getting a 6x payout. On 3-pick entries on PrizePicks, it's only 5x, which is why you never really want to place, you know, 3-pick entries on PrizePicks. I mean, you can read through the strategy article breaking down the math, but it's pretty simple, right? They're ripping you off on the payouts compared to other sports books. So if you go through the math, you'll see that, you know, these 5-pick entries or 3-pick entries are horrible on PrizePicks. So what we can do is we can go to head over to this PrizePicks optimizer, and then we can lock in this on the Underdog Fantasy. So this will be the first half of our middle. And again, like, it's pretty simple. Nothing complicated about a middle, right? Again, like, if Patrick Mahomes' passing yards line is at 275, like, he's not going to throw for 50 yards. He's not going to throw for 600, right? Like, he usually ends up somewhere around 275. I mean, granted, good games, bad games, but you get the point. Like, this Tomato guy is a lot more likely to end up between, you know, 11 or 12 kills, in which case we'll win the over 10.5 and the under 12.5, because that's what his line is centered around, right? As opposed to having, you know, he's not going to have 50 kills. He's not going to have 0. And you can see they just moved it. So I'll try to lock in some of these quicker. They're moving some of them pretty fast. So now I need another play on Underdog Fantasy, and then I need to remove this from PrizePicks. So this is the, you know, issues with doing the live stream is some of these lines just move quick if people start to hit them ahead of time. So what I can do is I can just go here, and then I can get rid of, let's get rid of CFL. And let's focus on esports. MMA is a few days away. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's go back here. So this Tomato play, it seems like just moved. So let's move receiving yards as well. And let's see what's out there on PrizePicks. So we do have this play, Mickey over 14. This guy cashed a play for us. So we want to take him under 16 here, right? And we want to take him if you weren't able to get the early play. So we now have 3 picks on PrizePicks. We need 2 more. Because again, on Underdog Fantasy, 3-pick entries are good. So I'll middle a few of these. This Kiyotaka play is the biggest line discrepancy. I mean, again, you will never see this in the NBA. So, like, if you want to make money, you'll probably make more money betting on esports. We all like the NBA more, but you get the point. So I'm going to lock this in for $100. The projection has changed. Are you serious? So they moved another one of the plays. Which one did they move? No lob. So again, when I talk about these lines moving quick, like, I feel like a lot of people think I'm full of crap. I mean, they move pretty quick. Some of them, the best betting opportunities, you know, and it makes sense. Like, if you look at these sportsbook odds, they're always moving. It's just kind of how it is. So what we can do is we can refresh this, you know, and like, it's kind of like, you know, the price of a stock changes, right? Good economic news comes out. The company made a lot of money last quarter. The price goes up. You know, the CEO, you know, like, did some crime, price goes down, right? The market is always reflecting new information. So weather changes, lineup changes, sharp action coming in. There's tons of reasons sportsbooks are always moving around lines. And again, I'll try to give out some plays. I got some emails for people who use, FanDuel. This play seems really good. Obviously, FanDuel's not a book I can currently bet on, but I mean, if I were in a state where FanDuel is legal, if I were in Virginia, Garcia over 1.5 bases, I mean, about as clear as day, right? The average line across the market is 164. Again, that's like if Facebook stock, had a different price on Fidelity, E-Trade, everything. You took an average of all of them. They all told you Facebook stock was worth 164, and then you can, sell it, I guess, for $210 on the FanDuel stock exchange. Like, you're just using all these books' odds as information because, no offense, you're not going to outsmart any of them, on your own. Nobody can. I can't. I mean, there's some people maybe who can, but again, 99.9% of people think they can just outsmart the books. It's hard. So what we can do is we can find one more play we need on Underdog Fantasy, and then we need 3 more on PrizePicks. So we can go here, and we can find something. So this seems good on PrizePicks just as a straight bet, right? So if we go here, it's like, okay, why is OddsJam recommending this play? It's recommending Halifax under 3. It's not that complicated. His line's at 2.5 on Underdog Fantasy, so I'm not going to middle it. And it's at 2.5 on Parlay Play. So the other data points, right, we have in the market are telling us, this guy's line should be lower. PrizePicks has his line at 3. Other books are at 2.5, so we want to take the under, right? Pretty simple. Again, there's no rocket science really going on. It would be cool if there were, but there's not. So we still need one more play on Underdog Fantasy as well. So what I can do is I can just, so this play seems good on PrizePicks as well. Now, I will say for PrizePicks, like an added benefit is if you can find players from the same team, both to go under in esports, but, we'll kind of skip over that for now. So what we can do is we can go back to Underdog Fantasy as well, because we still need another play on Underdog Fantasy, and we can get rid of this pitches thrown market, and we can see if there's any other, plays that we really like. So this play seems good. Gavado over 9, right? So this will be our next bet on Underdog Fantasy. And again, a lot of these have moved on me, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock this in a second. And again, here, it's just it's the same concept, right? And this is also why you want to have multiple books, right? You never know which one is going to be screwing up on a given day. So here you can see, okay, Parlay Play has the line at 10. Underdog Fantasy has the line at 9. PrizePicks has the line at 10. So again, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to win every bet on, Underdog Fantasy to turn a profit. We found a play with an edge. We're going to go ahead and lock it in. And that'll be my first play on Underdog Fantasy for today. Right? So this is the play. And then we need one more pick on PrizePicks, right? So what we can do, and what I kind of like to do sometimes, is we can go back here to PrizePicks. We can remove some of these markets. I don't want CFL. It's like, okay, I don't want MMA. Okay, let's focus on baseball and let's focus on esports. And we can see some of those plays are still available. But what we want to do is ideally, we can find some. So the way it works in esports, right, is if you're taking players from the same team, both to go under, that's an added benefit. Underdog Fantasy doesn't let you play players from the same team for that reason. So I need to start to move quickly here. So AEG. So I'm just checking, are any of these teams the same as here, right? And it's pretty simple. And again, it may seem like too simple, but that's kind of the beauty of sports betting in general, right? So you'll notice here, right? If I put 2 players on the same team in CSGO and I try to bet it's going to say, hey, only 1 player from each team is allowed in esports. Because again, players on the same team as Palafox, if he goes under, they're more likely to go under. So we have an added benefit, and that's called correlation. And again, we have a bunch of videos about it. So I'll try not to just dwell on it, but we have this Palafox one, okay? We have this Prince one. Any good plays we can find? Any good plays? So what team is Prince on? He's on FlyQuest. So what I can do also is just search for FlyQuest. So I don't really see there's not another play on OddsJam for FlyQuest, but if we type in this homie on Parlay Play, we can get his opposing team's full name. It's TSM. So if we search for TSM, doesn't look like there's any really good plays there. So it's like, okay, that was kind of useless. So this game is kind of useless for us, at least for correlation. But then we can put in Palafox, right? He's playing Cloud9. So let's see if there's any plays on this Cloud9 platform. And there is. It's recommending enemies under 4. But again, you don't want to play 2 players from opposing teams both to go under because that's negatively correlated. So I was hoping this guy wasn't over, but he's not. So kind of stuck with that. So what do we want to go with? So any players from the same team going the same direction here, Aegis, but this is an over, this is an under, so that's not what we want. Solary, under. So, I mean, we could take Peng and Schlatten, both under 4.5, right? If this guy goes under, if Peng goes under, Schlatten's more likely to go under. So we can pull him up, right? And again, like, can't spend forever on a bet. Like, at the end of the day, we're trying to find plays with an edge. We don't have to be perfect. That article lays it out, like, on PrizePicks, on Underdog Fantasy. Like, I'm sure I'll go through, losing streaks. I'll go through winning streaks. So this is what I hit on PrizePicks. What's up, guys? Anyways, let me find – I can't believe I didn't share the screen at first. Let me find this article. So let's go. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. So let's go back here. So again, like the strategy behind PrizePicks pretty simple. If you win, above 55% of your player props on Underdog, you're going to be profitable. On PrizePicks, it's a little lower, 54.2 for these 5 or 6 pick entries. So again, like you don't need to be perfect, right? Like I feel like so many people, they try to find the perfect slip every night. And it's like, no one knows the future. No one knows, if Josh Naylor is going to go over or under 8.5 fantasy points. It's all about finding plays with an edge, right? If you consistently win your player props over 55% of the time, you're going to make money on Underdog Fantasy. So we can refresh here, see if anything's on FanDuel. You can see there's some good home run bets, whatever. So what I can do is I can set my market width to like whatever, 50, something like that. So you can see here's a good play, right? Like, whatever. If you use FanDuel, if you don't use Underdog Fantasy, you can see FanDuel's pricing this at plus 170. Other books around below plus 140 on average across the market. Pretty simple concept. That would be a good bet to place. So let's go back here. So anyways, hopefully, video was kind of helpful. Sorry for not sharing my screen. We'll see if there's any plays. We can go to Parlay Play next. So it actually seems like there's some pretty good plays on Parlay Play. So if we go here, we can start out with Rich. Right? Pretty simple concept. This guy's line is 2.5 on Parlay Play. Underdog PrizePicks have his line at 2. Right? So, okay, that seems like a pretty good play. Gory over 3.5. Right? It looks like his line got bumped up to 4. So, whatever. That one already moved or is wrong. So, we can take a look here. Jensen, right? His line is 3 on Parlay Play. Underdog Fantasy and PrizePicks have his line at 3.5. Right? Nothing particularly complicated, but they're on the same team. And again, we're not even able to bet players on the same team to go the same direction on this platform. So I'm not going to be able to bet that. So it's kind of like, okay, what I can do is I can look for some of these other lines. So it doesn't seem like there's a ton of value on Parlay Play right now, but whatever. We got off this Underdog Fantasy slip, and we got off this PrizePicks slip so far. if you're curious. And then we can go here to the positive EV tool. I'll remove FanDuel because I can't even bet on it. I mean, here looks like a good play on Fliff, right? Pretty simple concept. You're trying to find value. Place as many bets as you can in a day. Let's see. So another book that, this book's pretty easy to beat. It's definitely not the most popular sports book, but again, we're not in the business of finding popular sports books. Is this platform right here called Hot Streak, right? They run hourly odds boosts. So you can see here, right? They run these, they call them plus EV. So they basically just run these hourly odds boosts. And you can see right now, like if you scan through their site, they're literally telling you this Ruiz play is profitable. And you can see the OddsGM optimizer picked it up. So why is this play good? I mean, again, it's pretty simple. Hot Streak is offering plus 180 odds. Other sports books, right, are pricing this around plus 130, plus 135. So like these bigger companies are telling you, hey, this should be plus 130. You're getting plus 180. Again, like you can overthink it all you want. If someone told me I could buy Facebook for $200, I would put all my money in it, right? Just because like the market is based on, what everyone thinks, everyone in the world, right? The price where supply and demand is equal is what a stock price is. So unless you think you're smarter than everyone, you trust the market. And it's kind of the same thing here, right? If every sports bettor came in, you can see lines move. If every bettor comes in and starts hammering this under, odds will fall on the under, right? Plus 130, plus 120, plus 110. Just like if every hedge fund decides to buy Facebook stock today, the price will go up, right? Supply and demand. So it's the same thing here, right? Like lines move based on where action's coming in. So unless you think you're smarter than the entire market, which means other bettors, and you think you're smarter than the sports books who are the ones moving around lines, have better models than you, have access to betting volume, right? They're seeing what bets are coming in and moving around odds accordingly, right? That's line movement. These sportsbook line movements are based on typically bettors' wagers coming in. All the actions coming in on the under, if weather changes, if there's a lineup change, right, they're moving around odds. So long story short, on Hot Streak, what we can do is just like, okay, we need to find a couple good bets. So what I'm going to pair him with, right? And again, every new hour, there's a different odds boost. So this hour is, whatever, this Ruiz play. So I'll go back here and you can see here, right? Ruiz over half of a run. I mean, clear as day value, right? Nothing super complicated. And then you can see Anthony Volpe to not have a stolen base, under half of a stolen base. Hot Streak's giving you minus 340. DraftKings has us minus 500. BetMGM minus 375. But whatever, two good plays, right? Two solid plays. So that's pretty cool. So we can go back here and that will be our Hot Streak play. And then we can go back to Underdog Fantasy, whatever. Check out some of these pretty quickly. And if we're not, if we can't find anything, we'll call it a day. But maybe we can find some other good plays. So again, like a reason that middling is good in esports, so this Kiyotaka play, over 16, under 19, is there's just not a lot of sports books that post lines. Obviously for let's say if we put on FanDuel and Caesars, two of the most popular sports books again, you should really like this bet on Spencer Torkelson to have 2+ hits on FanDuel. They're giving you plus 195 odds. Literally every other sports book, right? Like this pretty rational sports betting. You're not smarter than the books. No offense. Everyone thinks they are. It's like everyone thinks they're smarter than the stock market, and the only people who end up making money long-term really are the trading firms, right? Because everyone thinks they're smarter than the market. They trade things around, and it's just the people following the data making money. It's kind of the same thing here in sports betting. Like these inefficiencies in the market exist because, most people, recreational bettors don't bet this way. But you can see here, it's like, once you start to think about it, it should be pretty obvious. And we have tons of videos on YouTube breaking down how to back out your profit margin. So this is your profit margin, 6.47 percent. So you bet this for $100, the profit margin or your edge is 6.47%. That means your bet has $6.47 in profit margin, right? And we have tons of videos about how to go through the math, all these formulas and stuff like that. But like this looks like a good bet on FanDuel. But long story short, it's like for baseball, you know, and that's just the sports books in Arizona, and I have some filtered out, or this play on Tovar, right? Like there are, again, you have dozens of sports books posting odds, right? For esports player props, it's only like a few. So long story short, you should be a little more, you know, that's why I lean to middle bet for these esports plays, because like this Kiyotaka play, there were only 2 books posting lines. It's a massive discrepancy. So just capitalize on it. Take the over, take the under. If he has 18 kills or 17 kills, you win both. If he has 16 or 19, you push one and you win one. Pretty clear, right? Nothing super complicated there. So we can actually just focus on, you know, whatever. If we want to just pull up esports, you can do that. Maybe not. So let's go here and we can do League of Legends, CSGO, Dota 2. And we got some plays for today, but we can see if we can find anything else. So it doesn't really look like it. Nothing crazy on PrizePicks, nothing crazy on Underdog Fantasy. Obviously, I try to never just like force a bet. So we'll call it a day for now. Hopefully this live stream was helpful, and we'll chat soon.